Thank you for being here. What we're going to talk about today, I'm a filmmaker, I'm an actor, and I have also written for theater and done a lot of writing one-woman shows for theater. Oh, thank you, McMode. Thank you so much. And also just regular shows that aren't one-woman shows. But I've done it a lot, and I was talking about, gosh, you guys, these hearts are just fabulous, so pretty. Thank you so much. So one of the things that I had a self-realization about just the other day, because I was home and I was in Minneapolis where I did a lot of theater before, and I said to myself, if you really look at, every time you might get freaked out about writing another project, if you really look at all the projects that you've ever done in the past, putting like my recent movies aside, because I've spent a lot of money on those, the first three, not so much money, but the last one, a little more money. And I said to myself, what would stop you from producing something else? So Midler, right? Oh God, I love Bette Midler. God, I love her. And it made no sense because the theater pieces that I had created for myself back in Minneapolis, where I was also a writer and a producer on them, and I did it with other producers, those were the most successful things that I did. And I was talking earlier about success not necessarily always being financial, but sometimes it is. And actually in those theater cases, I made more money on those projects than I've probably ever made money, because not only was I the writer on them and I had a producer credit, so I was getting, royalty and residuals on that, in addition to being either the star of the show or nearly the star of the show. So it was actually my most profitable period in terms of that, before I started doing film and television. And there's some, big paychecks, but they come and then those residuals come, and those residuals are not great when it comes to television if it's just cable or whatnot, right? Although I just got a check from 30 Rock the other day and went, God, I love that show. just to get that residual check in. But it was a good show. But I mean, I didn't have a very big role on it either. So it was nice to get that check. It was a nice little surprise. So my point is, for new people, new filmmakers, or if you're creating for stage, or if you're doing some form of writing, exactly, yay residuals, Kathy Carey, my God, thank God for them. What would stop somebody from starting to write something that's their own story? Because I see a lot in these different, like Kathy Carey. If you guys, you should follow Kathy Carey. She's a wonderful filmmaker. And yeah, residuals. Kathy Carey is also a filmmaker, and she can talk to this same subject matter a lot. She's also a writer on most of her projects. And so she's also somebody who has a lot of knowledge for this. She's, for you, okay, good. For you, it would be fear of rejection. Of course, that is obviously something somebody's thinking of. You're going to put it out there and people are either not going to buy it or whatever. And here's my thought about that. It's rejection from what? Because if you put it out there, you have control over who's going to see it, who's not going to see it. And maybe you're going to produce it yourself and it won't matter. I mean, there's no rejection if you're going out there and you're producing it yourself, right? That has been my mode. I have never taken my script, which is going to happen next because by default, but I've never taken my script somewhere and said, do you want to buy it? I've always produced my own work. And I did that for people who may be fearful at first about putting it out there and thinking about rejection, you should think about the fact that you may be writing it for yourself and for nobody else at first. Because if that's the thing that is going to stop you, it has less to do with impressing others than it does impressing yourself. Yes. Yeah, because the big fear is you'll think this is a wonderful idea. It's a great idea, and you put it down, right? And you look at it and you go, this sucks. I can't write. Who the hell do I think I am? Well, you know what? What a relief to at least put it out there on paper and to take a look at it and go, yeah, this needs a lot of work. Maybe it needs a lot of work, but I at least got it out there the first try. It's never going to be perfect. So I think if you stop thinking, oh, if I write this, that's the end. When you write it, It may suck at first. Who cares? Who's the only one that's going to see this is you, right? And you could send it to this is where like being in a writer's group or, and I'm not in a writer's group, but I show this to people who I work with in the business that I have a lot of respect with and who I know won't call me, pull my hair and call me shorty, who will look at it and say, this is an interesting idea, but this doesn't work or that doesn't work. People that are very close to me that I have a very, very good little web of trust group of people. And they are a select few of people that I send my scripts to and go, what do you think? And am I going to lie and say it doesn't hurt if it comes back and they're just like, what the hell was that? And I'm like, well, how could you not see it? But I mean, how are you going to know unless you do it? Yes, trustworthy folks. Kathy has the same people, she's saying. She has the same little, what we call people that follow Banny Gillespie, your web of trust. You have your little web of trust of people who know you, who are going to love you if you suck or not. That's who that group of people is. And you take it and at least you started the first step. I think a lot of the reason people don't start to write is they think it's so overwhelming, right? Because if I put it out there, and it's going to be out there on the first try. It's not going to be out there on the first try. No way. Kathy said something very valuable on one of her scopes the other night that actually hit me really hard. She said, you have no ego about showing my work to them. Same here. Same here. I don't, because you know why? I've worked with these people on and off for years in different capacities, many of them just as actors. We've been actors in the same productions, and we've been actors in shit written productions before. So like we know like what writing we like. We have and some of the people I send it to too are not in my style or my genre, or they don't even necessarily appreciate, but they like me. Right? So they're going to read this thing and they're going to say, hey, there's a lot to different ways that they're going to be reading it. Some of it, people that you send it to are just going to give you like typos and go, well, this didn't make sense. I didn't understand why that character liked mangoes in the first scene, and by the fourth scene, they didn't like mangoes. I'm just talking about consistency, some logistical things. Some people give you that kind of feedback, which is very valuable. And you may think it makes, at first, you're just like, well, what kind of, who cares about stuff like that? But that's very important stuff to catch, because sometimes a little comment like that sets off a whole nother line of thought for you. Like I just realized I did something in this script that I'm currently working on that was obviously subconscious, because there's a series of racist things that happen in the script based upon an area that happens in the country, which happens to have a large population of these particular people, right? And then I did not realize that I was having the kids do a report on those exact same, like having to do with this particular country or this huge continent, right? And I went, well, I didn't realize that I had done that myself until today. And I was like, somebody would have caught that they would have been like, why didn't you make more of a connection between that when they read it later? I mean, it occurred to me now that I went, I could really take advantage of that. I haven't taken advantage of that. That's a really important point. But how am I going to weave that in? Or am I going to confuse people and they're just going to be like, that's just too much. It's over the head. It's too on the nose. Okay. So things like this on the nose when I didn't even see it in my own writing, right? That's why it's so important to put it out there. If you don't put it down in the first place, though, you're never going to get the first step, and then the second step, and then the third step, and the fourth step, and up to the 10th step. And some of these scripts, like I have a friend right now who's working on a pilot. She said it's been taking her 8 years to get to this point with her script. She's going to do a reading of it. She's asking me to do a reading of it, actually playing her, because she's a character actress and she wants to be able to sit back and look at it. Yeah, sometimes you're just too close to your own writing to see some of the stuff. Kathy is absolutely right. You're just too close to it, or you've gone through 7 different rewrites on it and you're not seeing it. And those other people, you've never thought about it this way. Right. And Margaret's agreeing. Yes. Yeah. Because if you have to understand that your perspective is one very narrow focused perspective on what you're trying to do. The minute you let those people in with a web of trust to read it, even if you just have the first couple scenes written, or the first 4 or 5, if you get through the first 10 pages, because this is something that they talk about. I went through that writing my book. You went through that writing your book, Janice. Janice is a writer, huh? And you're a narrative writer, like prose. Oh, that's wonderful. Yes. And did you send it off to other people, Janice? Did you send it off to other people to read it for you and give you feedback? Because things that make sense to you, because you've thought this through like 1,000 million times. But somebody who's looking at it with fresh eyes gives you amazing feedback. So you have to kind of do it no matter what. Launch at 50%, launch at 85%, launch at whatever it is. Oh, your niece was the best for feedback and she was totally, I bet that's supposed to be honest instead. I bet she's a honey too. But yeah, yes, exactly, honest. That she was totally honest with you, right? And at first, doesn't it kind of grip you with that, like, I'm going to throw up feeling when somebody finds something that you think you were going to have? But you can't get to the, oh, I'm glad this is great advice. You can't get to the next step. You can't get there without fresh eyes, because somebody has to be able to read it with fresh eyes, either the director of the project or the end consumer is going to have to read this. And it is absolutely going to make sense. You fought over a sentence. Probably the clarity of the sentence, right? You thought it meant one thing and she thought it meant something else, maybe, Janice? I'm just making an assumption, but you can clarify that if you'd like. You fought over one sentence. Most likely the meaning of the sentence? Yeah, the meaning of the sentence, right? I had that with this last film that's out in a festival right now, where a lot of people would argue about what the last line of the film makes, right? Well, actually a bunch of sentences. But didn't that make it clear to you that there were things? Do you record your feedback or take notes? This is what I have done, is I always take notes on somebody who's reading it, and then I'm on the phone with them. I write down the notes. However, when I do a reading of it, I videotape the readings. I always make sure that I have a, oh, you spoke over the phone. You spoke over the phone. Right. Did you take notes? Did you change things based on that, Janice? I'm interested. Did you change things, or did you say to yourself, which I did with my film, yes, I wanted that question unanswered? You did change things based on it. See? And that does make a big difference. Right. And see, you can come to your own conclusions when you get into an argument with people about this. And sometimes you'll fight about it and you'll be really pissed off and you'll be really angry about whatever it is. And then you go to bed and you wake up the next morning and you go, you know what? If it's not clear, it's not clear. If they're seeing it that way and I'm seeing it this way, you either want it to be like that so that people like the Mona Lisa look at it and wonder what the hell it is, and they can come to their own conclusion, or you have to make the choice that, no, I was trying to say this with this, and I have to, if it's unclear to her, it's got to be unclear to other people. So I need to go back in. What's important is you find you're more receptive to question feedback rather than do's and don'ts feedback. And cadence, you know what's really important about that? Oh, I've gotten some notes that I didn't make and made the movie, and I know that's going to continue. Oh, cadence, back to what you were saying. Oh, the person who gave you the notes loved it. Okay. Isn't that great? Because you knew, like, you had your choices. What's important about this is you've made a conscious choice. Just like if you're an actor, some people in here may be actors. It doesn't matter if you've made the wrong choice, or it just matters that you made a choice. Does this make sense? So if the choice is unclear to the audience and you wanted it to be clear, getting this feedback from people is absolutely essential. That's what's essential. So that's one reason, right? This is one reason people won't start, is that the fear of either self-criticism or criticism from others. And you have to look at that as a positive thing. I'm glad this is helpful. Finding a group of honest people is a great idea. Yes, finding people who you have to have some kind of respect for them, right? Because if they come back with some wackadoodle job note, like Kathy said, she got notes from somebody that friends lie and love it all. Some friends. If they're in the business, they probably know better to do it. That's why it doesn't, you got to find your group of friends that works for you. Like, I have a group of friends who are friends and in the business, and I can rely on them to be totally honest with me and not just kiss my ass. So you have to find, and you know what? And I'm just not good enough to have somebody kiss my ass. That's the way I always look at it. So if even my mom or dad reading the script, can give me feedback that's useful, and they know nothing about what they're talking about. I mean, nada. But know who you're getting the notes from and appropriately take action or inaction based on the people you're getting the notes from. That's very important. But thinking about it, that thinking process is what's really important, about going, okay, this bothered me. And the more that comment bothered you, the more it probably needs to be taken care of. If you know the bullshit comments when they happen right away, where you're like, yeah, yada, 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 write your own script, tell me about it later. You know what I mean? That kind, you'll start to notice this the more and the more you do that, the more you put it out there. Whose notes are valuable and where they just don't get it. Or maybe you need to tweak one thing in order for them to understand an environment or something that's happening, that wasn't clear before, let's say. Okay, so that's one reason. Criticism. Okay, I think maybe we've handled that. I had a reason that I think may be interesting to you. See, I most often hear this, well, what do you write about? How do you come up with your ideas? That kind of stuff. And I think it's really important for people to understand that writing from something that's personal to you is the thing that's going to be the most interesting. Something that it was a personal experience to you somehow, or you even read something where it happened to somebody who's very near and dear to you. It has some kind of a personal connection to you. That's when you're going to get your most interesting work. Or you read something and you say to yourself, that's a really interesting concept. Like something that happens in the news and that it bothers you. Like this last film, there were a number of different events that led up to this last film that were from current events. And what bothered me were reactions from people that I knew personally that I thought one way, thought another way. Okay. And it really bothered me a lot. So that's how my failure groupies came about. That was, my being upset about, my scope is going deep on the concept of writing what you know. Yes, absolutely, about writing from what you know. And here's the thing is that I was really, really bothered when the Boston bombings happened and the reactions of some people that were around me. And so I wrote from a place, but I work best personally. I listen to and I love mostly comedy. And I find that really dark comedy is stuff that really makes people think even more because they're not, I don't know, this is just my personal thing. So I work from a place of very dark comedy, no matter how serious the subject is, because that's just my thing. I love it. It makes people think, it takes people out of it long enough to see it in a different light, in a different way. So when something really bothers me, or angers me, I find that's how I handle it, is comedy. Right? So what I'm saying is if you find something that's like very, very personal to you and you want to write about it, what might stop you then from doing the writing? And I had another personal experience happen. I did some stand-up comedy in December, and I haven't done stand-up in a long time. And one of the reasons I didn't do it was all my stand-up comedy usually involves my family because I have the most insane family alive. And I love them. I love them. Don't get me wrong, but they are not your average people. And so I wanted to do this thing based on a story of the series of things that my mother did. And I love my mother. I mean, if you see my mother on some of these scopes, I did some scopes earlier last week. My mother, because I was home in Minnesota, and they were hilarious. But she used to threaten to kill the Easter Bunny and Santa Claus if we didn't eat like our peas. All right, so I did this whole thing on the stand-up about how my mother was going to, kill the Easter Bunny or shoot Santa Claus. She used to say, eat your goddamn peas or I'll shoot Santa. So I did this whole thing about it. And I haven't done that because I love my mother. You know what I mean? Like, my mother's actually a really good mother, but she did some vile things to us growing up in terms of like mental shit. You know what I mean? In terms of that. Oh, but it is funny, right? Like, it's goddamn funny. And I thought the whole time, I was like, I can't do this. People are not going to think this is funny, or they're going to think she should be locked up, or you know what I mean? This kind of stuff. But I did this whole stand-up routine on it, and people were dying laughing. Yes, it is hard to find that balance. Like, and I did let my mother watch it. And the reaction of my mother was almost funnier than the reaction of the people. Because she was going, that did not happen. And then she would like give me the detail of how it really happened, right? Like something that I had forgotten. I was like, oh, well, you know what? The next time I do that stand-up routine, I'm adding that little detail because I forgot about it. I forgot about that. So my fear of writing from what I know went away from doing that stand-up. Selective memory? No, this is not selective. I'm telling you right now, this was real. It was ugly. And it was real. But she thought she had the best of intentions. She was going to make me eat my goddamn peas. And my eggs. Ugh. Oh, her memory, selective memory. Yes. I'd have to say yes on that one. Because I have my brother and my sister to back me on this. Oh my God. So I've decided that I am going to do this show called Breaking Bobcha, which I have to name it that. And I owe Bonnie Gillespie for that title, because my mother has this setup of these vitamins that is like a pill collection. And she literally said on one of these, I'm going to put her up. I'm going to do a sizzle reel of her stuff. But she did this thing called, it's very Christopher Durang. It's very John Guare. My whole life is like a John Guare play. Really. I mean, I love John Guare. But it's dark and it's funny. I think everyone's mother is fodder for stand-up. Absolutely. They are. It's just a matter of, do you want to, and I have things. Chris Carfizzi's name is unfamiliar. Chris is a actor, and he's about to be a filmmaker. He wants to be a filmmaker. Right, Chris? You're thinking about doing some filmmaking? So I'm interested to know what you guys are thinking about writing, and what might, yes, Chris Carfizzi is an actor, and he is thinking about doing self-producing some things, and he's going to come help me on my next project. He says he's going to help me, so I'm taking him up on that, because I need bodies, I need help. Especially people that I know are reliable, right? As Kathy talked about, forming her crew and making sure that the crew is somebody who is reliable and trustworthy. And see, this all leads back to a common theme. Oh, the Dwang guy. Who's the Dwang guy? I don't know. You're about to send out your draft for notes. Good. Who are you sending it to, Chris? And is it a personal story? Does it have a little bit of personal attached to it? Or did you... Oh, you're spelling it wrong. Oh, Chris Silveri. Oh, Chris Silveri, isn't that your manager, Chris? What about, you're sending it to, this is who you're sending it to. You're sending it to Chris Silveri and Rebecca Dealey for feedback. Have you sent it to friends already? Those are, by the way, one is a manager and Rebecca Dealey is a casting director at Christie Street Casting, which is an independent filmmaker. They cast indies, but large budget indies in New York City. And Chris knows them because he works at AGR, and so he gets to be readers and whatnot for people that come in to do casting director workshops there, which I also go to AGR. I like it a lot. Your film is very personal. That's wonderful. Totally thought of a feature the other day. Haven't hashed everything out yet, but it's about, I think it has something to do with dark comedy, and someone mentioned a name that begins with D. Oh, Christopher Durang. You're talking about Durang. Oh, intensely so, right? So have you, Chris, I'm curious, have you sent it out to friends yet? Have you sent it out to, yes, Christopher Durang. Have you sent it out to friends to read before you send it out? Call me. He's trying to call me because, are you ready for this? Because this is my life. He wants to make sure we get to Costco before the 4th of July. Hello, Cam's Journey. We are talking about, so it's a very personal story. Chris Carfizzi, who's in the room, is talking about the fact that it's a, but I was going to ask you, yeah, that's why your screen froze. My husband's like wondering what the list is for Costco. Am obnoxious famous singer who wants out of the game and fakes his death only to be caught months later. That is hilarious. That's very funny. Is that a personal story? And Chris Carfizzi, I'm glad it's a personal thing. You should watch Kathy Carey's. I write from things that either personally affect me, people that are very close to me, and my feature that I want to do after I get done with Failure Groupies feature, which is very, the reason that's personal to me is how upsetting I find that white people think they can talk about certain subjects in front of each other without thinking that everybody else in the room doesn't think the same way they do. Sometimes. This is not all white people, by the way. But it happened. It's happened to me often enough that it pisses me off often enough, and due to obvious political events that are happening in the world. Oh, black folks are like that too. This is what I mean. It's all about racism and assumptions that are made. It's all about assumptions. White people are funny like that. It says. It is timely. It is funny, and it's not funny. All at the same time. But, you know, people are people. Tribalism. This is really suburban entitlement things that irritate me. Because I'm in this burbs now. Go from Washington Heights in the city to the burbs, and it's a big culture shock. So, yeah. But, so that, and it's not the way I was raised. So, it's very, you would not think you'd come to the East Coast and endure more racism than you do in Minnesota. I mean, nobody thinks that. Nobody thinks that. So I find that very, personally upsetting. So that's what that one's about. But then I have another one that is about, that is an extremely personal thing that I can't even talk about yet. And that's the next feature. I don't know that I could live in the burbs. Welcome to my world, Kathy. That's why I write. Because if I didn't, I'd lose my mind out here. Yeah, so that's it. You've been really hard writing so personally. Yes, it is very hard to write so personally. Although maybe Sherman Oaks is considered... Yes, come on. Sherman Oaks is like the burbs. Of course, you know, LA is so spread out with everything that it's... You know, that's hard. Because, like, who lives downtown LA? I mean, I was just there. There were apartments and everything, but there's not, you know, a lot going on downtown LA. I mean, there's Studio City, I guess, and all that kind of stuff, which feels more like, right? But, you know, you're either in New York or you're not in New York. And I'm in a very nice suburb in New Jersey. We're the white trash, by the way, of New Jersey. I'm just telling you that right now. Because if you drove by our house, 97% of your book is real, except for the serial killer. Oh, I love it. That's wonderful, Janice. That's wonderful. That's great. That's amazing. And I think that, you know, you do use writing is very therapeutic because you're getting out everything that you wish you could. You know, if you could just go in the grocery store and, you know, pack somebody in the face over some stupid ass comment, I mean, you would do it. But you can do it in a script, right? You can do it in a script. Is the entertainment business a lot different back here than in LA? I don't know. I mean, I'm learning a lot from Kathy Carey, listening to her, because I'm on the East Coast. She's on the West Coast. I think there's it depends on what you're talking about in the business. If you're really trying to sell a script, it's all the same. And, you know, this is really interesting. The guy that produced the pilot of Curbing Your Enthusiasm, I went to a seminar that he did the other day. Jackie Collins said, what about you know and experience helped you a lot? That's very true. It's exactly what we're talking about. And one of the things he said, which I found very interesting, was because somebody was saying, should I move to LA? You know, they're a filmmaker, and they were like, should I move to LA? And this is what he said. He said, you know, the machine is in LA, but you should not move until they move you. Because frankly, everybody in LA is telling the same story over and over again. Nothing's different. We come to New York to find the interesting stories and the interesting writers. We will move you to LA because that's where the machine is. That's where the things produce. You know what I mean? They can produce it so much cheaper than you can in New York, to be frank. But the truth of the matter is, when he's looking for interesting ideas, he goes to New York writers. I don't know what that means. I mean, if you look at independent film, like people like Kathy Carey are producing independent film that are producing more original stories. But when it comes to studios and things like that, remember that that is in LA. And there certainly are networks here and whatnot, but, you know, very often if we are auditioning for series regular roles here, it's eventually going to go on tape to LA, and you eventually have to go to LA even if the series ends up getting produced here. So there are different elements of the business that become different based on location, but really there's things that are different for actors. Like in actors, I've noticed they'll get signed across the board more in LA, but in New York, we don't really do that. You usually have a different commercial agent than you do have as your legit agent. There are different things. There are subtle differences, but in the end, the business is the business. Everybody's looking for a really good, interesting, original, exciting story. And you're never going to get started until you just start writing it and you get out there and produce it, or find somebody to work with you and collaborate and produce. Find that group of people that you love to produce with. Get your team together that you can rely on people. Figure out, start going to seminars and meeting people, going to workshops and meeting people. If you still feel like you're like the lone coyote out here writing on your own, try to get together with people who will do readings of it, who you've worked with in some way that you trust, that you like. I mean, even if they aren't actors, just hearing it read out loud will serve you so well. I do recommend always videotaping a reading that you might do, because you're so wound up and buzzed up about that reading that you really can't concentrate. Like my friend that's going to do this, these scopes are super helpful. I think so too. Like listening to people like Julie Bush, who's a screenwriter, and listening to Kathy Carey and her experiences out in LA versus me here. The more you're putting yourself, thank you, this is valuable. Thank you so much, McModes. I'm glad it is valuable, because I just, when I get stuck, when I get in a rut, and I like even just, hey, Kristen, how you doing? Even showing my mother the other day on Periscope, which is a lot of bases of a lot of my stories, right? Because it relates back to my family. Doing that reminded me, when I saw how entertained people were by that, I said to myself, this is interesting. This is not just because it's my life and I feel like, oh, well, that's just so self-gratifying to be like, or not, that's not even, those are not the two right words. It's, narcissistic, maybe. It feels like sometimes if I'm going to write about my own stuff, it might feel narcissistic, but it is universal. Like showing my mother the other night really made it clear to me, no, everybody has a mother, or an absent mother, or a mother who's there, or a mother who's not there. But a lot of people have mothers like my mother, and they find it so entertaining because they're seeing it in just a slightly different perspective. Yes, it has to be relatable. I had my mother on Periscope. Goddamn hilarious. That's all I'm saying. Okay, so if you start following me, like I have a YouTube, I put these up on YouTube later on my YouTube channel. So if you just go to YouTube and like, Google my name, there's a new Filmmakers Forum there, and I will eventually put my mother's up, but I was going to edit it together. Oh, you do want to see this. It is hilarious. And the thing is that I've always thought my mother was a riot, and I've always thought she was insane. But to see other people see it gave me an entirely different perspective on it, right? Because I thought, I don't know if I should do this or not, or if it's going to be interesting to people to have them watch my mother or do a show about her. But then when I saw people's reactions to it, again, this is what I'm saying, put it out there. If you don't put it out there, if you don't start somehow, somewhere with the material, my mother should be played by Carol Burnett. Actually, you know who my mother kind of reminds? Have you ever seen that show, Keeping Up Appearances? That British show? Because she tired of talks like this. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So she has that kind of mode to her. Yeah, you're kind of using Periscope as a focus group. That's exactly it. That's Hyacinth. Hyacinth bouquet, but it's spelled bucket. Now, my mother's not a snob, but she talks like this. Yes. Yeah, bucket. Hyacinth bouquet. Okay, any other reasons that people don't write? What stops you? Anybody else have anything that stops you? I'm trying. This is going on too long, but I just want to make sure I get everybody's fears. Let's just purge it. Purge your fears about telling your own stories here. Does anybody else have any more fears? I'm scared my sister's going to come and attack me if I do. Because now she's a weightlifter. Are you sitting down? So yes, what other reasons would you just would you not a fear, Chris, go on. Not a fear, but that people will judge me. They'll think, yo, this guy is effed up. Who thinks this stuff? Bullshit. Have you been to a film festival and seen some of those horror films? Jesus, it can't get any more fucked up. Put it out there. You will be surprised. I thought people would think the same thing about my mother or hurting somebody I'm writing about. That is a fear. Oh, well, Kristen, that's just for fun that you're murdering someone in yours. But see, this is, yeah, you can come in here. You can say hi to Angus. This is Angus, by the way. This is my son. He's an actor. Good place to yes, this could become a really good place to overcome the fears.
To watch the rest of the movie because I already know what's gonna happen in the maze. Like they're gonna have.
He's watching because they're saying hi. You saw a film about a crazy cat on a spaceship. Okay, so how much more screwed up can that get?
Mom.
Unless it's yeah. I'm gonna. Can I finish this? Because I'm on Periscope. You tell me the whole thing later.
Okay.
Okay.
I'll tell you after you say this.
I will. Yeah, Angus, say hey. Say hey.
Hi.
Yeah, don't ruin it, Angus. You go watch it, sweetie, and I'll be back. Oh, yeah, you're too scared. There's no point in watching it. He's getting scared by the
I actually know
goblin.
what's gonna happen. They just go in the maze, then they have a battle with Voldemort because he's gonna be in the maze.
Okay. You put real people and real stories in my scripts, but change the names. Yes, I do the same thing. That's what I do. You just change it up, because you have to stop judging yourself. How are you to know that people aren't going to relate to it? And, and also the other people that are really fucked up, just like you in your mind, there's a ton of them out there. Believe me, there is something for everyone. And what if you just put it out there and you find out, you don't ever even want to produce it, but it was just therapeutic to write it and get it out there. I bet you're going to find out that you're not as fucked up as you think you are with those ideas, and that people are going to find it interesting. Truth is often stranger than fiction. Absolutely. Because, if I tell you some of the stuff that's gone down in my family, you would never believe that shit. You'd be like, oh, Rosalie, that's over the top. A lot of stuff you may feel meh about, people relate to. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. So, don't judge yourself. How about that? Don't judge yourself. What if you're going to help somebody by putting it out there who's thought these same things forever? And one screenplay I'm scared to let out because if my mother reads it, she'll know it's about her. Okay, absolutely. Yes. Yes. Well, does she have to see it? And what about Freud would have a field day with me? Sure. Absolutely. But think of all the different things that you've seen. Think of Equus. Think of Oedipus. Think of, it's not been done before. You know what I'm saying? What I'm saying is your level of how judgmental you're being about it. I wrote one like that she'll never see, though. Exactly, Kathy. There's stuff that there's a film that I want to produce that's like my baby, you know, my baby. And there'll just be certain people that will never know it happened, because who cares? You have to ask yourself what someone else's opinion really is. Yeah, like, who are you doing it for? Are you doing it for your mother, or are you doing it for yourself? And chances are, if, you know, you're not doing this to improve your relationship with your mother, you're doing this to get it out there for yourself. That's it. You don't know. You know what? Then stop thinking about that and just write it and get a reading. Well, motive, absolute key. But I'm saying that she doesn't know why she's writing it. That may be an important question for you to think about. Is it written already? Like, do you have it all written, or is there more to it? It's all written. Have you done a reading of it? You have to do the reading. Yeah, make mistakes. The mistakes, oh my God, the mistakes teach you everything. You haven't done a reading of it. Well, I would say, I challenge you, Cadence. I challenge you to do a reading of it with people who have no relationship to your mother. Thanks again. You got a conference call? Bye-bye. Yes. Okay. Really great to meet you again, McMotos. And thanks for coming back. I really appreciate it. I got to write him down to make sure. You know how this stupid Periscope does not show you everybody that was in your thing so that you can't follow them back? It just drives me crazy. So I got to write that down. Mick Mood Photos, right? Okay. My point is, get a reading done of it. I think you're going to be shocked what you learn by the reading. Especially people who don't know your mother. Like, are you in the same town as your mom right now, by any chance, Cadence? Are you in the same town? Thank you for all those hearts, guys. Nothing better than a bunch of chocolate and golden hearts. I'm going to pretend I'm eating those hearts right now for chocolate. Not anymore, you just move. Well, hallelujah! What excuse you got now? Go to the local theater and say to them, or wherever, you know, or if you already have a group of people, and just say, I just need this play read, set up a damn camera, and then have a discussion afterwards, and this is how you can do it. You just say, was anything confusing? Was anything not clear to you? The informal readings are so helpful. I mean, I'm just talking to having people over to your house with a glass of wine, even, that you know, or if you need it really done, yes, it points out all the holes. The minute you have the reading done, it points out all the holes. And ask for notes. That's what I'm saying. You know what I did with the reading of one film that I did that I cannot wait to produce one day? Oh my God, I'm so excited about that film too. Is that I had a list of questions that I needed answered. There were some things that I really, really needed answered. I had them fill it out afterwards so that one person didn't influence the other one. Yeah, and then think of who's giving those notes to you, right? And then at the end, I did do general questions of things like, but I had the questions written down. I didn't go in there mamby-pamby by the flight of my pants. Yes, some you take and some you leave. But I went into this reading, and not only did I have everybody fill out things that, because for their personal character, what was confusing to you as your character? Do you understand what their objective was? Like, what did they want? Did you know what your character wanted? Was that clear to you when you were doing the reading or not? And then I would say things out loud to the entire group, which was anything confusing? Did anything not make sense? What do you think this film is about? Chris says, you may also find that you're farther along than you think. Right. And then you're going to take the pressure, Cadence, you're going to take the pressure off yourself about the whole mom deal, because you're going to be busy focusing on, it also helps to show dialogue that reads fine when silently, but doesn't do well when spoken. Dead on. Because when it doesn't come out of a person's mouth well, again, this is why it's helpful to really have actors do the reading for you, if you can. Oh, everybody likes my stream? Thank you, Kristen. That's so cool. Yeah, you're going to find out dialogue that just doesn't work, that's clunky, that doesn't sound like what people really talk like. Sometimes this is the most valuable. This is why you videotape it. They will accidentally, hey, how you doing, Ketawat? They will accidentally say the line a different way, or they'll rephrase it a different way that made sense to them, that didn't to you. and may just be an accident, but you may find out that that's a really happy accident because, you know, what they were saying made a hell of a lot more sense in the way you had written it. Or if you really needed it to be timed right with a comedic response or something, you're going to see, ooh, that was clunky. I need to clean that up. I need to get rid of all the extraneous words. Usually shorter is better. And you'll find that, or you'll find that you're repeating the same damn thing over and over again, either in one scene or let's say 3 scenes in a row. And you go, Jesus, I don't even need that one scene. Hello, we already hashed that out in that other scene. I thought, how did I leave that in? You know what I mean? Things like that are going to occur to you that would not otherwise. Others can accidentally say what you meant, not what you said. Yeah, actors do that. That's why if you can do it with actors, fantastic. Sometimes you can't. You have to get together, a group of people that you know from work or whatever. Who cares? All of them are going to be valuable because then you're going to do another draft and then you're going to do another reading. You will do that. You will do that if you're really struggling with a piece. Am I doing a course on cinematography? No. In a way I am. I'm working with 2 girls right now who want to go pro, and they're very good actors. They're very good. And I did just write a small piece for them that I'm going to shoot. Within the next couple of weeks, I just have to book a library to do, just so that they can have a reel. You know what I mean? So I teach acting. I teach kids acting. But because I've created these I wanted to talk to people who are maybe too scared to start their film making process. That's why I have this new Filmmakers Forum, because I've done 4 films. 1 is on the circuit and it's been optioned for a feature. So and these 2 girls are here. Where? Here. They're actually out here in Jersey. 2 girls that are actresses. They are teenagers, and they're very talented. They're very good. Oh, no, they're not in the Periscope. They're not in the Periscope. I don't know that kids are really Periscoping. Oh, you're from New Jersey. Where in New Jersey, Janice? I have a novelist living in New Jersey. Well, I know there's a lot of people that write out here, but... Westfield. I'm in Randolph. Cool. So, any other reasons that people don't write? Oh, you're from Westfield. Oh my God, you're in Uruguay. That's fantastic. That's exciting. Okay, so how about you graduated from Morris? Get out. That's right down the damn street. Right down Sussex Turnpike. Yes. Oh my God, that's so cool. Morristown High is supposed to be a very good school. I actually shot in Morristown. You haven't streamlined your writing process. Well, who has? I haven't streamlined mine either. Don't worry about it. Everybody thinks. Hi, Kristen. Make sure you're wearing a slip. You're in Florida now. Oh, cool. Your outline is essentially writing a first draft. You know what? I think everybody has their own process. And I haven't had the same process on each film yet. I wish I had the same process. It would simplify my life. I'm working on that. Working on it. Kathy Carey probably has a real process going on, but I'm working. It depends on how the idea comes to me. If the idea comes to me, sometimes I initially write it almost as a narrative first, and then sometimes the dialogue, the who, what, where. I'm always about, I just throw out my who, what, wheres, but I have to know where it's going. I usually already know where it's going, but that's different. Everybody's process is different. There's no one process that's going to work for one person. Any other reasons people don't write? Or you have a process, but you experiment. She has a process, but she experiments. Fantastic. Well, I'm going to close this down because I just feel like it's been going too long, even though I love everything that's going on. You're lazy, Janice? Oh my God, that's funny. But you're not on, whose timeline are you on, Janice? Do it your way, Oh, your friends are lazy. Oh, you're very welcome. You're very welcome, Cadence. Thank you, Chris. Thank you guys for stopping by. It's really good to see everybody. Everybody watch Kathy Carey because she's going to talk in depth tonight, right, Kathy? You're going to talk. Thank you, Margaret, for showing up. Thank you, Janice, for showing up, and Kristen, everybody. Kathy, you're going to talk in depth about writing from what you know tonight. Yes, happy 4th of July. God bless this country. No, thank you. And Uruguay. And Uruguay. I got to call my husband now and give him the list for Costco before he passes out on me. All right, you guys, it's so good to see you here, and I'm going to join Kathy later. All right, see you later. Bye-bye. In-depth writing on what you know. In-depth writing on what you know. Join Kathy Carey. Follow her, and then it'll send you a, you know what I mean? It'll send you a deal saying, what do we call that? A banner or whatever saying that she's on. That's what you need to do. Follow each other. See you guys later. Bye-bye.